Hey everybody, good morning. How's everyone doing today? Welcome to another episode of Addicted to Gear number 58. We're getting close to the 60 mark, guys. You know what that means? We're going to have to celebrate somehow. I don't know how, but maybe you guys can give me some ideas. Can you give me a thumbs up if the sound levels are okay? I kind of messed around with a couple of things this morning. I know we already have a few people in the house this morning, which is great. And there's already some talk about new gear. That warms the cockles of my heart, guys. When I hear you guys talking about stuff that you've got this week, I'm giving you guys thumbs up. So, can you guys hear me okay? I'm getting a thumbs up. All right, sounds good. Thank you, Ed. Just wanted to make sure. So I gotta say, guys, I got caught off guard today because here in Canada we do this crazy thing called daylight savings time, where we in the spring we move the clock forward, in the fall we move it back, and it's probably done in some other types of places in the world, but I'm not sure exactly where. Anyways, today is the day we spring forward. So we're putting the clocks forward an hour. So when I woke up this morning, I figured it was 8 o'clock, but it was actually 9 o'clock. So I was kind of caught off guard and scrambling to have my breakfast so that I could come here and be with all you guys. So if I'm a little frazzled this morning, you'll have to forgive me. I don't know that many places that do this daylight savings time. In Canada, we do a few strange things. Well, strange. I mean, we work with the metric system. We don't work with the imperial system. So everything is kind of measured in millimeters here. But honestly, I never really refer to millimeters whenever I'm doing any kind of, if I'm going to the hardware store and I'm buying a 2x4, I'm buying a 2x4. I'm not, buying a whatever it converts to in millimeters. It just throws the whole thing off, if you ask me. And same thing with kilometers, right? Our speedometers on our cars say kilometers and not necessarily miles. And I always have to convert in my head. Same thing with Celsius, Fahrenheit. The whole 9 yards. It's the European thing. Anyways, enough about that. Let me say good morning to you guys. Good morning, Jack Collins. Jack says he got a new Boss Katana 100 and he's loving it. I came this close, Jack, to actually pulling the trigger on a used katana myself. Now, is that the Mark 1 or the Mark 2? Because I think they did make some minor changes there. And they're not, excuse me, sorry. And they're not exactly the same. Jeff, good morning. Jeff says, hey Tony, hope you are doing well. My addiction fix this week is a Wampler Tumnus. Tumnus. I don't know how you pronounce it. Tumnus, I guess. Deluxe. Loving it so far. I'm gassing for a set of Monty's PAFs now. Well, it's funny. I just watched a video myself where they were reviewing a whole bunch of Klon clones. And it was surprising how similar a lot of these were. And if you're into that Klon sound, then there's really no need, I don't think, to go out and spend $3,000 on a pedal. Not that I would actually do that anyways, because I don't think I would want to do that. But out of all the ones that they tested, I think the Tumnus was one of the ones that came closest. There was, I think, the Archer too that was actually pretty close. And surprisingly enough, the Soul Food, to my ears, at least in the video, didn't seem all that different. And it's, I think it's under $100, so you can get something relatively inexpensive for not too much money. So that's pretty cool. But the Tumnus does sound cool. I'd love to get the mini Tumnus just in case I want to have that on my board. I like going with the smaller pedal nowadays, just because they don't take as much room on my board. And that one seems really nice. As far as the Monty's PAFs, man, I can't say enough good things about those pickups. Except they are expensive. I mean, you do have to factor in the exchange because they are coming from England. But in my opinion, they're worth it. And I'm going to be jumping up and down in the chat as well. So in case, I skip your comment, I'll probably come back to it. But let's see here. Jeff, just wondering what guitar are you planning or would you like to put in the PAFs into? Are you putting it into a Les Paul or is it something else? Just wondering. We automatically associate, PAFs and humbuckers with a Les Paul, but maybe you're putting it into another type of guitar. Cushman says, sold a few guitars. I could buy a Daphne Blue Road Worn 70s Telecaster Deluxe. I absolutely love this guitar. Hope everyone is well. Congratulations, man. I love the Road Worn stuff. I know a lot of people knock it down a bit and are not crazy about the Road Worn thing. I feel they're just great feeling guitars, and all the classic colors are great. Daphne Blue. I have one that's Road Worn that's kind of like I wouldn't say candy apple, but it's red, but it has an underlay of gold. You can see where the paint is actually worn away, that there's an actual undertone of gold that gives it that rich, vibrant color, and it plays great. I love it. I don't play it enough, actually. I should play it more. Good morning, Jack. Jack Collins is here. Jeff is here. Good morning, Jeff Shields. Bruce is here. Good morning. Bruce is saying hello from sunny New York. Glad to hear the weather is good in New York. We're trying to get above zero here in Canada. We got a little hint, a little teaser of some warm weather this week, and then it dropped down again. I don't know what the temperature is today, but hopefully it's back above zero and it's gonna warm up so we can get rid of this leftover snow and start feeling like it's spring. I'm so looking forward to spring, you guys. You don't know. Finn is here. Good morning, Finn. He's from Dublin, Ireland. Nice, nice. Very nice. How are things in Ireland, Finn? The home of U2, right? What else who else do we have here? Bruce says, have had my 100 watt Mark II 1x12 for about a year now, and still loving it. A lot of people love the katanas. I mean, I've tried them. I've played them a couple of times in the stores, and they actually sound very good. I mean, and also for the price that you're paying for them, it's really a no-brainer. You have a lot of flexibility with those amps, and Boss makes good quality stuff, reliable. Cushman says, my 50 watt Katana Fine is my practice amp. For home use, guys, Katanas will do the job. And even for YouTube stuff, recording YouTube videos and all that, Katanas work really well. Jeff says there's a few channels doing good stuff with Katana. Check out the Studio Rats if you haven't already. I totally agree. The other day, I follow a few people on Instagram. And if you guys don't know, I also have an Instagram account where I often post things that I don't post on YouTube. So if you guys are curious or you want to get like a preview of something that's coming up, I'll often put it on Instagram first and then, follow up with YouTube. And often the stuff that I can't put on YouTube, like if I want to play a riff that is a riff of a specific song or something like that, I can't usually do that on YouTube because I'll get in trouble. Instagram doesn't really do that, so I can put it on my Instagram channel, and I often do. And often you guys are asking for like additional clips or sound clips or playing clips, and what I'll do is I'll record a little 30-second or 60-second video, and I'll put it on Instagram. Usually the quality is not fantastic because I'm doing it with my phone, but you usually get the idea. And I know a lot of you guys have been constantly asking me about the Black Star, and do I like it, and am I still playing it? And almost all of the clips that I've put on Instagram are through the Black Star. And yeah, I still like that amplifier. It's basically stopped me from buying another Marshall, because as I mentioned in the last couple of videos that we did on the Sunday streams, I was gassing for the Marshall Studio Plexi, and I still kind of am, except I do feel it's a little expensive, you know, for what it is. They're asking quite a bit of money, and I always think about, you know, pulling the trigger, but then I think about the fact that, you know, the Black Star does the Marshall thing pretty good at low wattage, and you know, it has the reverb in it, it has the 2 channels in it as well. So it's kind of stopped me from pulling the trigger for now. I'm not saying it won't happen, but for now. I always add the for now at the end. What else here? Ed says, just scored a 2011 Classic Vibe 50 Strat, white with maple fretboard for $245. That's a nice find. Congratulations, Ed. I love the Classic Vibe stuff. I've said it before on the channel. I've done videos. I used to have a Butterscotch Classic Vibe that really I loved and played non-stop for a long time. It was my go-to Telecaster, actually, even though I have a 52 reissue and you know, a couple of other Telecasters. That one was the one I really liked for a long time, and I didn't pay it all that much. And surprisingly enough, that was one of the very few guitars that I bought new. I don't usually buy guitars new. I try and get them used as often as I can. And that one, I don't know, I was gassing for it, and I decided to buy it new. And I kept it for a long time, and I don't know, eventually I ended up selling it. I don't know why I sold it. I think just because I got a couple other Telecasters after, and you know, I'm constantly evaluating the herd, right? I don't want to keep everything, even though I have accumulated quite a few guitars. I always try to better, you know, the average of all of the guitars that I have in my collection for whatever reason. And if something needs to go for whatever reason, then it goes. Hey Christian, how are you? Christian's all the way over in Germany. My voice is cracking. I think I'm going through puberty again. I think I need some water. So quite a few of you have gotten the Katana. It's a very popular amplifier. I'm sure it's done extremely well for Boss. So I think it's something that they're quite proud of, and I'm sure they're going to continue the line. Hey Rico. Rico says he doesn't change the time over in Arizona. Arizona, man, I'd love to go to Arizona and check it out. I've never been there, but I hear it's beautiful. Good morning, Dan of New Jersey. Oh, we got a new person joining our chat here. Mazaletra says, hey, new to the channel, and I love these live chats. Well, thank you and welcome aboard. If you're addicted to gear like we all are here, it's great to have you. Definitely, I think you'll find that we do, how can I put this? You know, we try and console each other. Is that the right word? Support each other. You know, this is like the AA for guitar addicts. So welcome aboard. Mark EFX, good morning. Good morning. Bruce Brooks, didn't get any new gear this week, but started seriously revisiting a lot of my old gear. That's the first step, Bruce. Well, it's good that you didn't get stuff. Congratulations on that. That's always a challenge, right? But when you start reevaluating stuff, you know it's coming, right? I'm sure you already have something in mind. I do that too. You know, when I start looking at stuff and giving it the eye, I'm like, okay, something else is coming. Cool Tunes Made Easy. Hey, nice to see you, buddy. Thank you. Thank you for coming and joining us on this Sunday. Jeff says we do daylight savings time in the UK last weekend of March. Yeah, it's more of a European thing. So I guess it's great to be able to have more sunlight later on in the day, so it doesn't get dark so early. That's the great thing about it. Obviously when you wake up in the morning, it's still a little bit dark, but it's all good. We're getting used to it. We've gotten over winter, and that's the most important thing. It actually flew by. I didn't see any of it this year. It was crazy quick. Gospel of Mark, hey, how's it going? Nice to see you. Jack says it's actually a 100. It's just a Katana 100, so it's not the Mark II. Rico's asking me if I bought the new Marshall this past week. Actually, I didn't. Rico, I just spoke about that. The Black Star has saved me from spending more money on another amplifier. I'm still evaluating it. I'm trying to see whether or not any of these pop up on the used market eventually. I mean, it's still relatively new. I think it's already been a year or two since they've been out. So I'm hoping to see a couple of these on the used market. But locally, I don't know, it's going to be kind of rather tough to see these popping up. One actually did pop up on the used market in my area, except the guy's price was basically the same as new. Like, I think he was just knocking off the taxes. So I tried to, haggle with him a little bit, and he wouldn't have it. So, and he ended up selling it rather quick. So it's all good. It's all good. I'm actually, one of the things I'm contemplating on getting, and this is not like a guitar specifically, because spring is coming along, I wanted to get an outdoor pizza oven, just because I've been eyeing these things for a long time, and I know some friends of mine have these things, and they're amazing. You can actually make, I love pizza. My background is Italian, so I love pizza, in case you guys couldn't tell that I'm Italian. These pizza ovens are fantastic. They're wood burning pizza ovens, so you have to put in wood. It's not gas powered or anything like that. And they get up to like almost 1,000 degrees. They're made in such a way where they really keep the heat in. And you can throw in a pizza in there and cook a pizza in about like 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, And it's great for when you have these parties and barbecues and whatnot, and friends come over, you throw in a few pizzas, and you can put whatever you want on them, and they're great. And you can make other things as well. You can make, you can throw in bagels in there. You can make pretzels. You can make bread. You can make even meat dishes. You get yourself a nice cast iron skillet, or a nice little cast iron pot, and you can throw in whatever meat. You can sear steaks beautifully on a cast iron skillet because it gets so hot. You just throw it in there. It gives a beautiful crust. And I'm looking forward to getting one of these things as soon as the snow melts, so we can take advantage of the summer. I might piss off my neighbors with the smoke, because it is wood, but I'll throw a couple of pizzas over the fences, and they should be okay. Yeah, pizza's great, man. Pizza's the best invention ever. You can just throw anything on a pizza and make it great. So okay, let's go back and catch up on the comments here. By the way, guys, have you seen the new Murphy aged? They call them, I guess, Murphy aged Gibsons. They don't call them road worn. They call them aged. What do you think of those? They're pushing those pretty hard. I think they're trying to find ways of charging extra for the same thing. So it's a good way of doing it. I mean, there is a lot of time involved, and I have to admit some of these guitars look really, really nice, but the prices that they're asking for is ridiculous. So I don't think I'd ever own one unless I get super lucky and end up getting somebody selling one of these guitars for a lot less money. But give me your thoughts on that. I picked up a couple of things too, guys, actually this week, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. I've actually been recording a video for one of the items that I picked up, and I think I recorded it 3 times, and I ended up deleting the video 3 times, and I'll explain why in a little bit. It's just it's a very peculiar thing, and it's kind of hard for me to present it in the right way, but I'm going to talk about it here. You guys will get the preview on that in a little bit. Let me just catch up on the chats here. And if you guys want to support the channel, as usual, there is the opportunity to buy some swag underneath the videos. I actually even added a little mask with the logo on it for those of you that are still isolating. And you can pick that up as well. And if you want, obviously, there's the super chats. If you guys want to support the channel that way, it's always appreciated. But I'm willing to take all the questions, and today really I want to focus on your questions as much as possible. We're aiming for about an hour, and we're 20 minutes in, so don't hesitate to ask your questions here. Paul says, is that Tony I see on my screen? My God. It is heaven. Paul, what have you been sniffing? Are you sniffing glue or something like that? Hey, I appreciate the nice words. And I do have to apologize, guys, for not being as active with my videos. I've been so overwhelmed with life lately. There's a lot of things happening on my end, and I'm just trying to squeeze in time. And my day is booked from 8 a.m. to 5, and then 6 to 10, and I have an hour in between to rush and have supper, and zero time for anything else. So I've been really trying to squeeze out these videos, mostly recording them on the weekends whenever I get an opportunity, but sometimes it just doesn't happen. And I've been accumulating a few videos, so you will be seeing some new stuff coming out. I'm going to talk about that in a couple minutes. Quicksilver says, hey, what's up, Tony? Last minute change. I think you're referring to the schedule. Is that it? The schedule for the video? Yeah, I had originally scheduled the chat for 10 p.m., but I didn't want to mess everybody up, and I said, you know what, let's keep it in the morning slot. I'll probably delete that other video chat sort of request because I think it's going to be kind of late and people do work in the morning, so I think we'll keep it in the AM this time around. Jeff says I would be putting the paths in a black Les Paul Classic. Like the look of the double cream after watching Rick Beato play his. I love the double cream too. I love the black Les Paul Classics as well. I don't have a black Les Paul. I do have a black Tokai, which is just as good in my opinion. I did a video on that, so you can go back and check and take a look. I actually upgraded that guitar with some Iron Gear pickups, which were actually quite good sounding in my opinion. The original pickups in those were Goto pickups that came, it's a Japanese guitar, so they have, and they actually sounded very good, the Gotos. I still have them. I haven't gotten rid of them. They were not wax potted, which in my opinion made them sound a little bit more open. But I still have those pickups. Eventually they'll probably end up in another guitar. Hey Joey, nice to see you. Gospel of Mark, I'm really thinking I'm gonna sell my 335 and get a PRS. I've been struggling with it for a while, and I think I'm going to do it. Let's talk about this, Mark. Let's talk about this. First of all, which PRS are you looking at getting? That's number one. I like PRS guitars. I think they're great, but I also like 335s. So are you sure that's the one you want to flip? Because the 335s are great in my opinion. But I mean, it's up to you. If you think that the 335 is not your bag, then the PRSs are great. They have so many really nice models. The only thing about PRS guitars is that they look so gorgeous. I mean, the finish is so beautiful that I'm always afraid of nicking those guitars or, putting a scratch in them. And not so much my other guitars. I don't know why. It's just the PRSs. They look like a beautiful piece of furniture, And it's always, I know I'm going to regret getting the first ding. I have the PRS that I have is the SC245, which is the single cut. You've seen it probably on my videos. It's a great guitar. I think that one was an earlier model, so the ones that they have now are even more like they really increased the production quality of the finishes. They're even more beautiful now. Mine is a little bit more subdued, but it's still a 10 top, and I love the guitar. Haven't changed the pickups on that guitar. The pickups are always, in my opinion, the weak link in the PRS guitars. They've probably made them better now. I'm sure they have more options available, but I don't like the PRS guitars that have the pickups that are square and they fit in the guitar. You know, the ones that are uncovered, the uncovered pickups, but they have a different shape or design to them. I don't like those because I feel that it limits your options if ever you want to change pickups in the future. And because to me, pickups are a very personal thing, I usually end up modifying the pickups that I have in my guitars. I like to keep those options open. I haven't purchased, the only other the only other PRS that I purchased was a 22 fret double cut, and I didn't bond with that one. I didn't like the scale length on it, and I like the shorter scale length on the 245s, in my opinion. I think it's more my bag. And I also didn't like the switch. The 22 has that rotary switch for the selection of the pickups. Worst idea ever. I don't know why that ended up on there, but the one I had a rotary switch, so if you wanted to toggle between pickups, you have to like click the switches, like click, 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 click. There's 5 clicks. What a waste of time. I mean, you want to just flick it and carry on. You don't want to like try and dial it in when you're playing. So that one, I ended up selling that one. So I don't know. I hope that helps. Mark says, I like my 335, but it's a satin finish and I'm afraid to play it. I'd rather just get a rock solid PRS. I've owned many in the past and they're just so good. I agree, man. I agree with you 100%. But which model are you looking at getting, Mark, specifically? I'm just curious. Okay, let me just go back and... You guys are really active with the chats today. I'm having a hard time keeping up, but I will. Joey said, I got my Ibanez Blue Floral Gem last week in a trade. Basically paid $750. Nice. The Gems are great guitars. Hey Joey, I assume that if you have a floral gem that you're a big fan of Steve Vai. Is that too much of a stretch to assume that? I don't know, maybe I'm totally off. But have you guys been following Steve Vai's posts on Facebook? He recently had surgery on both his shoulder and his thumb, and he's been kind of out of commission. But yesterday I stumbled upon a brand new video where he was actually playing one of his songs completely with one hand, no picking. So he was just fretting it and playing the entire thing just with his fretting hand, and the other hand was still in a sling, right? And he was just playing the whole thing. Amazing, man. It's something to see. This guy's incredible. I mean, I kind of feel bad for Steve in a way because he's such a top-tier guitarist. He really has mastered the craft, and I don't think he gets all of the credit due because, unfortunately, a lot of his stuff is not like radio friendly, so he doesn't get as much exposure as he could get. And but you know, he's won my heart in terms of like one of the greatest guitarists that I've heard, and he's just so articulate and so how can I say, perfect in terms of, you know, so precise in his playing. If you ever notice when he does the bends, he does this round bend thing. So, you know, usually when you bend a string, you bend it up and down. He does this thing with his finger where he actually bends it in a circle. And it's the hardest thing ever. I tried to see if I can do this. I thought it sounded really like smooth and natural. So I said, that's pretty cool. Let me see. Man, it's the hardest thing ever. So it's like he really, you know, he's... I like listening to his stuff. I like listening to his podcasts or his vlogs or whatever you want to call it, because he's really down to earth and he really talks about a lot of things beyond guitar and how it's actually shaped his life and the challenges that he's had in the past, where he's dealt with depression and overcome it, and how he basically lives his life and how he thinks about all of these things and these external factors. So it's almost like a philosophical type of vlog instead of a guitar vlog. There's guitar stuff thrown in there as well, but definitely good for the soul, I think. I really like that kind of stuff. There's one book, and if you guys are Steve Vai fans, maybe you can help me. I know that he had referred to a specific book in some articles that he actually that were put out, and he referred to a specific book that actually helped him through his depression and helped him kind of get his mind together. And for the life of me, I can't find that reference anymore. But there's a specific book that he referred to, and it's not a guitar book. It's more like a philosophical thing. And if you guys know what it is, please put it in the chat, because I'm trying to find it. I'd love to read it. Fat Philosopher says Rolling Stone doesn't consider Vai to be a top 100 all-time guitarist. I'm wondering how they put together those lists sometimes. If it's just popularity, is it based on money? Is it based on like exposure? I don't really know. But I mean, if anybody couldn't play, Black Page from Frank Zappa, and not only play it but transcribe it note for note at the age of like 17 or 18 years old, he's got my vote for for the best guitarist. And Steve Vai has mentioned many times how Frank used to test him, right? Because he was so young, and he asked him to do the transcribing of his like most difficult guitar parts, and then he asked him to play it like twice as fast, and just to see if he was able to do it, And Steve Vai basically said he would basically take it, he would break it down into sections and play it like extremely slow, and basically speed it up until he got it to pace. And the interesting thing is the way he said it was that he never once thought that that he couldn't do it. It was just a question of time. So he knew that if he worked at it and he broke it down and he practiced it, that he'd get it. It wasn't even fathomable that it wouldn't be something he wouldn't be able to do, because he would work at it, right? And that's a really great way of approaching anything in life, in my opinion. It's like if you picture the fact that, if you know that you're going to be able to do it if you work at it, and you're not afraid to work at it, then everything's achievable, right? And it just proves it in terms of like his playing is like extraordinary, So I don't put too much... I don't read too much into those Rolling Stone magazine charts and stuff like that, like who's the best and who deserves to be there. I think if you're a fantastic player, we all know who the fantastic players are. I think, even though they don't get radio play. How many times do you hear Joe Satriani on your radio? Not very often. How many times do you hear Joe Bonamassa on the radio? Not very often. Steve Vai, same thing. Those guys are in the top tier for me. So obviously the radio is not a good gauge of quality or musicianship. Anyways, I got off on a tangent there. Tony is growing up so fast. Not sure what you mean by that, Joey. Did I miss something? Quicksilver is pondering between the Katana Head Mark II, the Spark Amp, and or the MG30. The MG30 looks like a great little device. I have the MG300 and I like it. So if the sounds on the MG30 are just as good or better, hopefully, and we have more functionality in terms of the ins and outs. That's a really nice looking unit, and for the money, they're not that expensive. I'd love to get my hands on one. They look like they're more well built. They're actually made of metal now, and they're not made of plastic. And it's funny enough, I got my 300 right here, and I play it a lot. So for me, that's a great option, especially if you don't need to play in a live situation. If you do need to play in a live situation, I'd probably go with the katana, because at least you can bring it with you. If it's a head, easy to transport. Yeah, Vice sees what exists beyond what seems possible. Kind of like how Michelangelo saw the figure within the blocks of stone. Knows he'll get there eventually. I think that's what kind of separates the average players from the great players. I think it's just practice time, and just not giving up. I know for me, like, I've kind of gotten to a point where I'm not a fantastic player. I get by, but I mean, I'm not like a Rick Beato in terms of, like, the theory and understanding completely why this chord belongs with this particular scale and how you could superimpose them, or just blend them all together. There's a lifetime of learning in terms of theory and guitar. The thing that Steve Vai said, and is absolutely true, the reason why he loves guitar so much is that it's a never-ending learning process. And that really stuck with me when he said that, and he's absolutely true. I mean, look at a person like Steve Vai. He's been playing guitar for his whole life. He's one of the top guitarists in the world, and he's still learning every day. And it hasn't ended, and it probably will never end. He could probably, even when he's an old man and passes away, he's probably going to be learning till his last day. So, and I totally feel the same way, except I don't have the dedication and the perseverance to kind of focus on just one thing and put everything else aside. So if I want to be a fantastic player, I practice whatever, 4 hours a day or whatever it may be. I have friends that are fantastic musicians. And, I remember when we were back in high school, these guys already knew that is what they wanted to do, and that is the only thing they wanted to do. And there was never a doubt in their mind that they would be doing anything else, even back in high school. And we would have conversations. I remember one specific friend who also has a YouTube channel. He's actually a drummer, and I'll actually maybe post the link to his channel for you guys in case you want to, see what I'm talking about. Fantastic player. And back in high school, I still remember in class, he used to drum and do, like, paradiddles on his desk with his pencils and his fingers. He was constantly tapping something, and he would always get in trouble and get thrown out of class because he would be disturbing the class. And he was just basically thinking about playing, basically. And so at one point I talked to him and I said, hey, man, maybe you want to also concentrate on school so that you have a backup in case you want to do anything else in life. I know you love drums. And at the time we were playing together, and he just looked at me and says, like, for me there isn't anything else. And he's been playing drums ever since. And it's funny because he also married a woman who is also a percussionist, and he has a son now, a little boy, and he's already thrown him a bunch of drumsticks, and he's already teaching him the techniques of playing and holding, and he could hardly walk, the kid. So I'm sure he's going to be a fantastic drummer too. And it's just nice to see somebody that hasn't compromised what they love and sold out to other things. All that being said, practice more, guys. That's what I'm trying to say. Oh man, I'm trying to preach to the choir, or the choir is trying to preach to the other side. It's just, I feel that it goes hand in hand. A lot of times, you know, you were buying gear to try and get a little bit more satisfaction, I guess, and to go beyond the limitations, the physical limitations that we have with our playing. And we look towards gear, but oftentimes the reality is, if you learn how to play and you practice more, that you probably will get a lot more satisfaction out of the gear that you have, and you don't necessarily have to buy new gear. I know it's sacrilege. I know I shouldn't be saying this, but that's just, I had to say it. All right, guys. So enough with my lecturing. Let's get back to answering questions here. Okay, let me just go back here. So I'm just gonna go back to the question we were talking about, the Spark. Man, I'm falling behind here. Joe says he's enamored with the Fender Ventira series. Why do you like them so much, Joe? What specifically do you like about those models as opposed to the other ones? Yeah, I agree, Paul. Daphne Blue is beautiful. Really nice. Rico says, no new gear this week, but I did ride the Aerosmith Rock and Roller Coaster at Disney World. Does that count? I'd say it does. I can't stand roller coasters. So Rico, you got more courage than I do. I don't like roller coasters. I had a bad experience with roller coasters when I was a child, and ever since then, no more roller coasters for me. I like to be in control of my destiny, and I don't like some pimply-faced kid trying to, whip me around this contraption. And yeah, I'll leave that for my kids, but not for me. I don't mind heights. I don't mind, anything that goes high up. I'm totally okay with that, but I don't like roller coasters. Joey says I would go either Katana or Spark. The Katana is far more versatile. Yeah, I think I haven't tried the Spark, but I know people who have tried it love it. But if you're going to play in a live situation, I think the head would be the way to go. Bruce says, I have a Les Paul Special P90 double cut in my eBay watch list. Already put in some bids, but keep getting outbid. Auction ends tonight. Yeah, the bidding thing. Bruce, here's a little tip for you. Download or subscribe to the service called Bidnapper. If you don't already know what that is, it's kind of a bidding service that allows you to bid on an item and I guess limit the chances of being outbid, because the way it works is that you put in a max bid for an item that you're watching, you put it in your watch list, and then the service will actually bid on it in the last minute or last 30 seconds up to the max bid that you want to actually put in for that. So the advantage of doing it this way is that you don't drive up the bids. Because if you bid on something and you get outbid, then somebody else will bid and so on and so forth. The price will go extremely high, and it kind of limits the chances of somebody outbidding you, because it goes in and bids last second. It's not free; it's a service, but I've used it so many times and it always works for me. So that's a little tip, free tip for you today. And anybody else here who's bidding on eBay can use that as well. But I think I haven't bid on eBay stuff for a long time. For me now, since I'm in Canada, the exchange, the pricing is gone up quite a bit. There's not a lot of deals on eBay anymore unless you get pretty lucky. Mazaletra says, I'm totally addicted to gear. Drums are my weapon of choice, but I've been relearning guitar this year, mainly playing my Gibson SG STD, looking forward to learning. Yep. That's what we're all here for, man. Joey says, I also got the PV Invective HM Killer Head. So the PV stuff is pretty good, man. I like PV a lot. I've had PV amps a couple of times in the past. I've looked at a couple of the new models that they have out now. The heads are pretty good. I mean, the way they're made is very well thought out, especially with all of the options on these heads. And the price is good. So PV, working man's equipment. Quicksilver says, I'm an apartment dweller, so I'm thinking that in the end I may just go with the Marshall Plexi Mini and a Torpedo Captor X and keep using my pedals, but you can see how expensive that can get. Yep. And I think honestly, even with the Captor, like you're playing silently, it's not the same. You know, I don't know if you're going to get as much enjoyment out of it. If you're playing in an apartment and you got to go through all that, you might as well just maybe invest in like a used Kemper or a used Axe FX, honestly. Because at the end of the day, you're not going to get the full air movement that you would with the Plexi if you were playing through a cabinet. I don't know if you're going to enjoy it as much. And since, you know, you can get a used Axe FX for like $1,000, anywhere between $1,005, $1,007, that's almost the same price as the amplifier itself, never mind the other gear that you were talking about. Rich, I'd love to have everybody over for a pizza party in my backyard. It would be fantastic. Think about it. We can all bring our gear and just play, throw pizzas around, annoy the neighbors. Get the cops called in to get arrested. It would be cool, no? Let me jump down to the list here. I'm actually falling too far behind on the questions here. Sorry, man. I'm just jumping around here. Cool Tune says, I had a co-worker drummer. He was always hitting the stuff with anything he could put his hands on. It's a passion when they do that, I believe. Yeah. Yes, indeed. Alan says, they say that the guitar is the hardest instrument to master. I'm still trying to learn just playing one. I don't know if the guitarist is the hardest instrument, honestly. I think, I mean, in the scope of things, I mean, piano is pretty challenging as well. Visually, it's easier because everything's laid out in front of you and you can see the different segments or octaves. But playing it, I mean, you got to split your mind in two because you're playing the bass and the treble at the same time, two separate rhythms. That takes a heck of a lot of coordination. Piano is a beautiful instrument, and I believe that's why most people that compose like to compose on the piano, because you actually can see everything right there in front of you. I think that would probably be, you know, one of the other instruments that I would really love to play. Fat Philosopher says, Tony, the Gibson / Dean lawsuit goes to court next month. Thoughts? I really haven't been following it. I really have not. I mean, I know that Gibson has lawsuits with a lot of people. I haven't really been following the Dean scenario. I don't know if they're going to win. I'm curious to see what's going to happen, but I mean, I don't really feel that passionate about it. I'm not a huge Dean fan, so it doesn't really affect me. I've never owned one, and I at this point don't think I would ever buy one, so it doesn't really bother me all that much. But it would be interesting to see what happens, just so that we can follow the repercussions of that ruling down the line. Fat Philosopher says, my new Strat is coming in Daphne Blue. And what model is it? Is it what kind of a Strat is it? It's funny because the Danish Pete has posted a video, sorry, not a video, a picture I think on his Instagram channel, about a new purple Strat, some kind of custom shop deal. And it's funny because I don't like it as much. I don't like it as much as his Telecaster for some reason. It's just meh. I don't know. There's no. It's not giving me that gas that the Telecaster did for some reason. Maybe it's because it's been done now, and it's just we're kind of stretching things out. But I feel like we don't want to dilute that thing. The whole scenario of the purple Telecaster thing. It was actually I got a little thrilled this week because I often post videos on my Instagram, as I mentioned earlier, and I like to post how the project is coming along. I'm still working on finishing the purple Telecaster. I'm at the point now where I'm spraying the clear, and it takes a long time because you can't spray the clear on too thick because otherwise it'll never dry. So you do layers and you go a little bit at a time and you build it up, and it takes a little while because it has to like gas off in between coats and all that kind of stuff. But I'm getting closer. So I actually posted some pictures on Instagram because some of you were asking me how it's coming along, and I actually got a thumbs up from Pete himself. He saw the picture and he gave me a thumbs up, and I thought that was pretty cool. So I got his stamp of approval on it so far, but I can't wait to actually put it all together. Joe says, the feel of the Ventera necks, the sounds take me back to the original models I played when I was younger. They're a perfect fit for early rock and roll. They're still, it still amazes me how they could put together new models all the time, and they're just different enough to get people interested. So that, you'll go to a store and you see a wall full of Strats and you think, well, what's the difference between them besides the color? And there you go. They all feel different. Fat Philosopher says, I used to love taking a date on a roller coaster. That's one way of getting hugged, right, Fat? When they get scared, they're like, oh. Oh, boy. Good old days, the good old days. Let me show you guys what I picked up this week. This is a little preview. I wanted to do a video on it, but I'm going to give you the heads up. There are a couple of things. In case you haven't already. So in case you guys didn't already spot it in the background, I picked up one of these guys. So this is, you guys already know I have a Kramer, the black one that I put the Vega Trem on. Well, another one popped up on the used market. And although I don't like the color, because it's like a salmon, they call it red, but it's not red. And it's kind of in between pink and red. So it's kind of like a salmon color. But I had to pick it up. The price was really good. And it has a maple fretboard, whereas my other one is not maple, it's rosewood. And I thought to myself, I'd grab one. They're great guitars for the money especially, and they don't usually pop up that often because they're out of stock everywhere. So I ended up getting this one used, brand new. The guy just bought it, gave me the bill and everything. I mean, there's not a scratch on it. And I ended up getting this one. I figured it would be something I could use for either maybe painting it a different color or doing something with it. I always wanted to kind of build myself an EVH Kramer with the stripes, and I figured this might be a great donor guitar for that. But I don't know if I should touch it now. I'm kind of I haven't really decided. So I'm kind of debating all of that while I play it. And it plays really, really well. It's not exactly like the other one. It's weird because I think the one I had, the black one, is actually an older model. Because this one has the serial number actually engraved in the back. It's actually engraved. And the other one doesn't even have, I don't think it even has a serial number on it. I'm pretty sure it doesn't. And the other one has like a big logo here. And this one doesn't. And I think the materials have changed. Some of the materials, and I think that one is mahogany. And I don't think this one is. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it yet. And the thing is, this is the original pickup that came with the guitar. I'm going to probably take that one out. It's not bad, but it's The Jeff Beck pickup I have in the other one sounds way better, but I might actually play around with some other pickups and throw it in here and see how it sounds. And the other one I put in the Vega Trem. I'll keep the stock bridge on this guitar for now, but probably maybe experiment with some other types of bridges as well, and possibly put in a set of locking tuners on this one. This is the stock tuners. I don't know. I don't know how far I'm going to go with the guitar yet. I really don't. But I was happy to grab it for the price that I got it for. I mean, they're a steal, guys. Think about it. I mean, you can buy these guitars used for like $200 or less. And think about it. You can't buy a neck and a body for $200. You can't. Even, these kits that you get from China, if you want to build yourself a replica Kramer, they're more than $200, man, with the shipping and everything, and the quality is not the same. Here you're getting the body, you're getting the bridge, you're getting everything painted and everything for like under $200. If you see these, just grab them, man. Don't even ask. Just grab them. If you like the Kramers, grab them. And the necks are great. The necks are like very wide and very thin, front to back, so they're easy to play. Anyways, that's my story. So you'll see a video coming up on this guitar. Now I'll maybe even compare it to the other one, although the other one's been modified now, so I don't know how relevant it'll be, but I just wanted to show you that. Dan says, if the Kramer were rocket red, they would not be able to sell in '84. I picked up a unique white Kramer body and neck for only $50 a couple of weeks ago. Must have fell off of a truck, stamped serial number. Dan, this is my theory. My theory is that Kramer, or Gibson, has specifically chosen not to release these guitars in any of the colors that would make them easy to paint in the EVH striped manner. If you notice, these guitars they only come in a couple of models, with rosewood necks and with maple necks. Everybody that's looking to take these guitars and make them into an AVH striped series model are going to be looking for the maple versions. The maple versions don't come in the colors that you would need to be able to use them as a bass. So the red is not actually red, it's salmon. Because if this was red, think about it, you can probably get away with using that as a base color for the striping. If it's white, for example, you can also use that for the striping. But they don't have the combinations available that will allow you to do that. And that's probably some kind of an agreement that they made somewhere to make it more difficult for people to convert these guitars over. That's just my conspiracy theory. Like, I wanted to build one of those guitars anyways. I was looking at building them from a kit, but now I can do it actually easier. And I might end up painting the guitar. Who knows? I haven't decided yet. But I do agree that like a red sparkle, like a candy apple red sparkle would be way nicer than the salmon color. So that was one of the items that I got. I got a couple other things. I'm gonna show you those, give you a preview of those as well. How's that? So right now, I got this thing here, and I just wanted to give a shout out. I don't know if you can see this here. This is called the Windmiller, and it's a really cool pedal made by Aclam. They are actually doing a Kickstarter on this right now. So if you want to support, these guys, you can go on Kickstarter and you make a donation. They're actually very close to hitting their goal, and I want to support them as well because I feel that they do make some really cool products. Without going into too much detail about this pedal, it's loosely based on the saturation that you're going to be getting. Think Pete Townsend. You know, Pete Townsend was playing the high watt amps back in the day. Those are relatively clean amps, very hard to distort. And this is just a pedal that will allow you to kind of drive it a little bit more. It's not actually a drive pedal per se, more like a boost. But it does allow you to play. It gives you a low cut and a mid cut knob that allows you to tailor in the sound a little bit more, and it just pushes like a clean amp into that saturated territory. Pretty cool. But what I really like about this pedal, what's really unique about it, you see these little slots that they have here? If you look at it in the back, can you see that? Well, if you guys look at my review of the Aclam pedal, and I have it right over here, it's just too heavy, I'm not going to lift it up. They have little slots in the pedal board that allows pedals to be put on the board, and they have these little gripper things that kind of squeeze the pedals together so they don't fall off the board, and you don't need Velcro. You can just squeeze them together and with the screws tighten them in, and it holds the pedals in place. Well, they designed their pedals to actually have that already built in. So this thing here has a little twisty thingy here. See, you can actually push it up and down, and you can actually slide this into the board and then tighten it down so that the whole thing stays in place. Because a couple of people were asking me when I did the video, like, oh, there's not enough clips, or you're going to always need more, or whatever. Well, their pedals are actually designed with the whole thing in it already. Isn't that pretty cool? So anyways, check them out. I think they've already put out a video on this pedal, and it sounds really good. So I'm actually very anxious, very excited to make a video on that very soon. Hey Cohen, nice to see you, man. Going back to some questions, lots of manufacturers are saying a year or more to produce. Even Tens is saying a year for lefties. Hey Charles, nice to see you, man. New Jersey. Craner, hey man, are you open for collabs? I'm always open for everything, Craner. shoot me an idea of what you want on by email or whatever. Definitely open to discuss. Paul says, according to Long and McQuaid, the new Kramer has a Duncan JB, and the wood is still mahogany. Are you talking about these models or the higher end models, the ones with the Floyd? Because this definitely is not a JB. Just going back on the chats here. Hey the Nine, nice to see you, man. Thank you for coming in. The other thing I wanted to also show you is this guy. I did a video on Instagram the other day. I was playing a little snippet of a Jeff Beck tune, and I was using my Gibson, and I was playing a wah pedal in that video, and I don't usually play wahs all that much. and I think I wanted to just show you what it was. It's this guy here. I think the Gospel of Mark, you were asking me what kind of wah it is. So it's this one. It's the Mick wah. This is a great sounding wah. You can get them off the website, and I've been using this one. I tried a few other ones. I've tried the Vox ones. I've tried the Crybabies as well, and this one sounded the best to me. So if ever you're into wah pedals and you don't, you're looking for one that is not the typical run-of-the-mill sound, the Mick wah stuff is beautiful. So check that out. Just a shout out to them. I haven't used that in any of my videos, so the only way you're going to hear that is in the Instagram. So that's that. And there's one more guitar that I got this week, but I'm not talking about it yet because the video is going to drop this week or probably tomorrow or something. I'm finishing it up this weekend. So this week you'll see what that is, and that's that should be an interesting video as well for you guys. It's a little secret. I don't want to spill the beans just yet. Hey Suman. Suman all the way from India. You're new too, I believe. I haven't seen you here before. Welcome. So going back to what we were saying about the Murphy design stuff that Gibson is coming out with, I think they're pretty nice looking and great options for somebody who wants to have a broken in kind of custom shop thing. I know that he was actually doing work on guitars like that privately, so you could actually send him a guitar and he'd do the whole process. It was very expensive. If I'm not mistaken, it was a couple $1,000 to be able to do that on your guitar. So it's not for everyone. And I do believe there's a few other people that specialize in that type of thing, that basically will take your guitar, strip it down, remove all the paint, and give it the treatment and make it look like an older guitar, and then send it back to you. Enticing, but I don't know if I'd have the scratch to do something like that. So in that particular case, I think I'd probably just wear it in myself, you know what I mean? But a few people that have, if you have the scratch and you're looking for that, then definitely that is one way you can make your guitars look a little older. Fat Philosopher says, twice last year I had Reverb stores phone me up after I bought something saying they had to charge me more for shipping. Yeah, that sucks. Again, I'm a Reverb virgin. I've never purchased or sold anything on Reverb yet. It just doesn't, it's not enticing. It's not enticing at all, man, for me, because I just feel that the prices are too expensive and I don't see any deals. I know you guys keep on telling me, yeah, you got to haggle and this and that, but I look at the price for shipping. I mean, you look at some of the deals and you say, hey, this is a cool deal on a guitar or an amp, and then you look at what they're charging for shipping. I'm like, no way. And then I'm probably gonna maybe get duties tagged on to that, and it's used, and I'm paying more than I'd be paying a brand new one. It doesn't make sense. So yeah, I don't really do it. What else, guys? What else? I'm gonna be wrapping it up soon, so if there's any last minute questions for me, please don't hesitate. Now's the time. I gotta go finish these videos I'm working on for you guys. Cushman says I picked up on that too. What are we talking about here? Sorry guys. Bruce, he was answering Bruce, so let's see. Oh, why did you turn your guitars back around the wrong direction? Guys, I don't do that on purpose to piss you off. It's more natural for me to put them down that way. I don't like the horns, like, look at the Gibsons. I don't like the horns facing outwards. It's kind of awkward. So it's more natural for me to put them in that way. That's the only reason. I'm not trying to hide anything from you guys. You guys are sensitive. Oh man, what else? Any last things that I should check out, guys? I know you guys usually give me some recommendations to a couple of things that you feel would be cool for me to check out. Oh, the dual time. The dual time. Yeah, man. You're absolutely right. Shit. That's another thing I gotta do. This guy. Dual time. Okay, I'm gonna put it here so I don't forget about it. That's another one I gotta do. And then there's this one. This guy here. Echo Verb. You guys haven't seen this one yet, I don't think. This one's also waiting in the wings. It's another pedal from Flamma. And I was looking at getting, a great unit that has a good delay and a good reverb in one, because I don't like to have too much space on my pedal boards allocated to different pedals. And this one is really nice. It gives you the ability to either go delay with the switch, either go reverb with the switch, or blend them both together. So you have reverb and delay in one pedal. And really nice sounding pedal, I gotta admit. This one is nice. Probably one of my favorites so far. And you also have the tap. You have the tap functionality and you have the bypass. And I'm going to be doing a review on that one. So that's another one. Guys, pedal reviews take forever for me to do. And this is the reason why it just takes a long time. The production is different. You have to get a good sound. It's not just talking about it. It's demoing it as well. So it tends to take a lot longer for me to crank these out. But don't worry, there's at least 4 or 5 different pedals and stuff that I need to get out there quickly. So those are coming as well. Maurizio, good vibes. Tony, Telecaster with Strat Body, what do you think? Telecaster with a Strat Body. So you're saying Telecaster neck on a Strat Body? I always feel it's kind of weird. I'm gonna be honest. If you want a Telecaster, like if you want a Strat, then get a Strat with a Strat neck. I don't feel that the Telecaster neck on a Strat Body is my thing. I've seen it done, and I've seen the opposite done. Telecaster with a Fender neck. I don't know, it just feels weird. Doesn't feel right. I don't know. My opinion. Some people love them. So hey, if you're looking at that and it really gets you excited, go for it, man. But for me, I don't think I would go that route. Fat Philosopher, what do you think of Sawtooth guitars? A couple of people have been mentioning these guitars to me, and I took a look at them. They look like they have some interesting options. I haven't played them, so I can't vouch for the quality or the way they're put together, the sustain on those guitars. But they look like they have some nice options there. Definitely a lot of companies coming out with some like more affordable guitars that I think are gonna get some traction in 2021 and 2022, specifically since prices all seem to be going up. Rico says, Tony, looking for your advice on a small pedal board. The board itself, not the pedals, for 4 pedals or so. I did a few reviews on some pedal boards. If you look back in my videos, you'll see there's the NuX Bumblebee pedal boards that are quite good. There's the Acclam stuff. They do have smaller versions as well. There's the Holy boards. There's a lot of people making boards. If it's just for 4 pedals, you don't need much, man. You can probably get even just a small pedal train. For 4 pedals, you can even just make one. I mean, honestly, all you need is a piece of plywood and some Velcro. You don't need anything too crazy unless you want something specific. But there's a lot of companies that are making these boards nowadays. Even on Amazon, you can go and get a Chinese one that are very inexpensive. Just less than 50, probably around $50 or so. I mean, the important thing about pedal boards is I like to have the flexibility of expanding them. So the cool thing about the Holy board pedal boards is that you can get them in a configuration that you can actually bring them down smaller and then expand them. They're actually plates of metal that slide out, and you can actually just screw in the different plates to the different sizes that you want. So in the future, if you expand on your pedal board, you have the luxury of making them bigger or smaller or as you need. So check out my my Holy board video. Hey Randy, greetings from Southern Illinois. Hope you guys are doing well. Running a little late today. Yeah, I was running a little late too. Jeff says, I just ordered an Addicted to Gear coffee mug. Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that, my friend. I had two and I broke them. Actually, my kids broke them. So I got to order some more for myself as well. Hopefully you get it soon and it arrives in one piece. I don't ship these things out. This is another company that takes care of that for me. So let me know when it arrives. Take a little picture of you sipping your coffee and send it to me. Alan says, Tony, have you seen the new Nux or Nuex MG30 multi-effects pedal? Yeah, I did. We were talking about it earlier today, and I'm looking forward to getting my hands on one of those. The old one, the MG300, is still here. I love it, and I was just waiting for them to come out with another version that actually gives you the ability to actually have some usable inputs and outputs. This is a great sounding unit, but it's a pain to try and record because nothing... I mean, it's so limited, but the sounds are great. So I'm happy that they're coming out with a better version or a more expanded version, and I want to get my hands on that as quickly as I can. Randy says, bought a Boss RC500. Wish me luck. Why luck? What luck do you need, Randy? I mean, you're going to like the unit. What's the issue? You're not sure about it? It sounds like you have some concerns there. Exactly, Paul. The Kramer site says it's a generic pickup. Exactly, it's not a. I guarantee you, it's not a Duncan. It's a generic thing. So that's going to be taken out, and I'll probably reach out to my friends at Pariah and see if I can maybe get a Pasadena or something like that in there for that real EVH sound, or I'll just. Rifle through the tickle trunk and see what I have in terms of pickups. I don't know how many pickups I have that have come out of other guitars in the past. I'll maybe just go back and take stock of what I already have in there and maybe throw something in there and see how that sounds as well. If anybody wants to volunteer a pickup for my experiment, let me know. Should I upgrade to a Katana from a PV VK112 home studio use mainly? I don't know, man. That's a good question. I mean, what do you feel is the main limitation that you're experiencing right now? Is it just more flexibility that you're looking for, different sounds? I mean, the Katana does give you more options in terms of tonal flexibility, I think. But there's nothing wrong with the VK112 per se. I mean, if you're just, are you using pedals mainly with the amp, or how are you recording it? You're saying it's home studio use. So, what are you trying to get out of it? Is what I'm asking. Regio says, have a kit and want to do something different. I have already 4 Strats. So you're covered on the Strat side. And you're looking for an idea. And sorry for the flurry of Noblet questions. I guess you mean newbie questions. I'm pretty amped, to learn from this awesome community. Well, that's what we're here for, and definitely don't hesitate to ask more questions. Hey, Henry. Hey, Steve. So we're still getting some people trickling in. Okay, I'll keep going for a few more minutes. Maybe I'll aim for 1:30. How's that? But at 1:30, guys, I gotta go. I gotta get some stuff done. I gotta make some more videos for you guys. Really got the hots for the new Neural DSP Quad Cortex, but want to wait for it to hit the streets and see some real non-sponsored reviews before dropping that much money. It does really look great, man, and but it's pretty expensive. I always hesitate to buy anything that's really expensive like that in terms of like multi-effects units, because to me a multi-effects unit, the lifespan on a multi-effects unit is like 3 years. It's kind of like a computer system. Think of it as a computer system for your guitar. And after about 3 years, they become outdated and they get replaced with some new stuff. And then so the return on investment in terms of trying to sell it at that point, it really goes down very quickly. So if you're going to buy something like that and drop that kind of coin, you probably want to make sure you can use it for the long term. If a company updates the software and provides new patches and new firmware updates that expand the usability on it, I'm all for that. I think that's super, because you do want to be able to use it for a long time. However, it's like digital cameras, it's like printers, it's like any kind of computer device. After 3 years, the lifespan is kind of shortened, right? And so if you're buying it and you want to recoup your money, you kind of are forced to sell it at that point if you don't want to lose too much money. So if you sell it after 3 years, almost like a car, you know, if you sell it before 5 years or whatever, you end up losing less on the deal. It's the same kind of idea with these units. And so you're kind of forced to upgrade, but then like, what are you going to be putting your money into at that point? And if you spend a whole bunch of time configuring it and setting it up for the way you want it, and then you have to start over again, it's a huge investment in time. Unless you can get really killer sounds right out of the box, which in most cases, I'm not sure that is the case. So I'm looking at that as well. I'm interested in seeing how well it actually does what it says it has to do. Although the competition is pretty fierce in that regards. There's more and more companies coming out, and honestly, with the less expensive units coming out, like the MG30 that's coming out soon, it's like it's amazing how good these cheaper units are actually becoming. You know, you can easily put one of those cheaper units onto your board with your pedals and get pedals and amp simulation and IRs working together. And you can go quite far with that. You just have to be a little bit more creative in how you do it. Matthew, hi, looking to buy a humbucking guitar. Would you recommend the Inspired Epi Les Paul or a Harvey Benton? I think you mean Harvey Benton. I think you mean a Harley Benton or something around $500. Look on the used market. You can get really great guitars, humbucking guitars, all day long on the used market. So don't be afraid to buy something used. Yes, the Epiphones are good. Everybody that has tried the newer ones seem to like them. So you can save yourself a little money over the Gibsons with the Epiphones. The Harley Benton stuff is good too. The stuff that I've tried from Harley Benton is quite nice. Although some people claim that some of the Harley Benton stuff have little issues or blemishes sometimes. I think that's due to where they're shipping from. But they do have some really nice models. And if you're not looking to really have a guitar that is that Gibson shape, because the Harley Bentons are slightly different, you can get a really nice guitar for not too much money, probably around $380, $400, something like that, brand new, which is a killer deal. Maz Electra says, the vid description links aren't working properly for me. Need some of this ATG gear. The vid descriptions? Are you talking about the are you talking about underneath the videos? Are you talking about the items that I have for sale? They should be working. You just have to click on them. They should be working. You could try again later. Maybe it's just a glitch. Fat Philosopher, hardtail or floating trem? I only had, I think, maybe one guitar with a hardtail. I like the floating trems because it does give you more flexibility. But then again, I love my Telecasters, which don't have a trem system at all, and they work quite well. I think that if you're going with a hardtail and it's through the body, I think you actually, I want to say you probably would get a little bit more sustain from it. But I like the flexibility of a floating system, and I no longer am enticed by the Floyd Roses anymore because they're just too much of a hassle for me to maintain. So like a good floating trem is fine, in my opinion. Cushman says, have an invader. Tony didn't like it. Yeah, I don't know. It wasn't my style. It wasn't my style, but it doesn't mean it's not a good sound. It all depends what you're looking for. It just wasn't what I was looking for at the time. Planning to buy either EVH Wolfgang Standard or ESP Gary Olt guitar. Which one more versatile? Thanks, man, in advance. Good question. I owned the Wolfgang for a while. I sold it. I ended up selling that one, so I can only really speak to that guitar. The other one I haven't tried. The ESP Gary Holt I haven't tried, so I can't really tell you side by side which one would be a better choice. But I can tell you that the Wolfgang, it has a really nice neck on it, except the width of the neck was a little too narrow for my hands. And I the same thing for I had a PV Music Man, which was a great guitar also, but at the nut, the width of the neck was a little bit too narrow, and it always bothered me. And it was the same for the Wolfgang. So I'm gonna say, if you have bigger hands, and usually you like a little bit of more width on your necks, then maybe the Wolfgang would not be for you. But other than that, the Wolfgang was really a nice guitar. I think the only other issue I had with the Wolfgang is the fact that the pickup routes on it were made in such a way that the Wolfgang pickups, the little legs on the Wolfgang pickups, you know how usually the pickup legs have a little, they're usually square. If you look at a pickup from the top down and you look at the legs and the way the little tabs are bent out, they're usually square. Well, the one on the Wolfgang was rounded, and it fit precisely into the slot of the route, so that it fit perfectly in there. And if you wanted to take those pickups out and change them with another pickup, you actually have to file the legs round to fit. I don't know why they do this. I think it's more of a look thing. But that was a pain. And they're also screwed into the body. So you have a little bit less flexibility in terms of height adjustment, depending on the type of pickups that you use, whether or not they have long legs or short legs. So that being said, it's a good all-around guitar. It really is nice. It feels nice, but I don't own it anymore. So take that with a grain of salt. Honestly, I'm not quite sure what I'm trying to achieve. Kind of new to the gear mix, and I'm currently using all my gear from 10 plus years ago except for the pedals. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. If you like the gear, I have gear that is probably older than 10 years old as well. Nothing wrong with mixing and matching the technology if it works for you. The only other thing I can say is that sometimes if you try and jump into it with too much gear, too many pedals at the same time, you're just diluting your train of thought, and I think you're doing a disservice to yourself. So my opinion, and this is just my opinion, take it with a grain of salt. Start off by trying to get a good sound from your amp and your guitar only, no pedals in the mix. Learn if the guitar and amplifier plays well in terms of the overall foundation of tone that you're trying to achieve. Learn how to interact with your amplifier using only your guitar, cable, and volume. Can you achieve the foundation that you need? Once you get that sound, and sometimes you might have to swap out your guitar or pickups or maybe amplifier to achieve that foundation, whether you want to try to get an overall clean sound and build upon that. If you're looking for a lot of saturation, which I don't recommend, but some people want to get that saturated sound, get that first, and then slowly introduce pedals only if you need to. Some people just want to throw everything on their board just because they can. But if you don't need effects pedals, why use them in your signal chain? You know, if you need to fix something or augment something, yeah, definitely use pedals for that. But I believe that, you know, it's like almost creating a sauce. You want to have a really good sauce, you know, the basic foundation of the sauce before you add your salt and pepper and other spices to make it even better. You know, because if you throw everything in, it just dilutes the whole thing and it won't really taste good. And it's the same thing with sound, in my opinion. Less is always more. Craner says, I ordered the Nuix MG30 to compare it with the Loner HS Stomp. I'll definitely be uploading videos about it. And Craner, I tried the Stomp before I got the MG300 and the Ampero as well. And I ended up going with the Ampero over the Stomp. And the MG300 sounds better, I think, than the Ampero. So let me know your thoughts on that. Tonefish, I bought a Helix because they update and what sound do... I bought a Helix because they update and what sound do I need that isn't in there? Yeah, so you're getting a used Helix for about $800. You have so many options in that device. The Helix, by the way, looks really good. And it's an excellent option for somebody that's possibly considering buying an amplifier for home use. You might want to consider a Helix. Get a Helix with an FR speaker and you're in business. Would like to improve my Squier Strat Affinity HSS part of a pack that I bought to start playing guitar last year. What should I do? Your advice. The affinities. Let me think. Well, possibly the pickups will be a big upgrade. The thing with the affinity strats, if you're going to be looking at upgrading, honestly, Henry, you might just do yourself a favor and take the affinity, upgrade to a classic vibe. So if you can still, if the affinity is in good shape, put it out on your local market, see if you can get your money, and then put in a little extra dough and get the classic vibe stuff, because the classic vibe is a step above the affinity models, in my opinion. And you know, you're talking about a HSS model. All of the Squier classic vibe stuff could be upgraded to a HSS if they're not already configured for that, because the routing is already there. So all you have to do is take out the pick guard and put a HSS pick guard and you're in business. So if you can get a used classic vibe Strat on the used market, you're gonna probably save yourself money in the long run, because if ever you upgrade your affinity and try and sell it later, you're not going to really recuperate much money. So I wouldn't recommend doing it that way. I would recommend flipping that one, upgrading to a classic vibe, and then working on that. But I think you're going to see it does feel a lot better, and it is a step above. Does that make sense, Henry? The Nice says, any tips on setting up a Strat? How are you setting the trem? Okay, I can give you some quick tips on that. And I do have a couple of videos out there, the Nice, if you want, where I talk about guitar setup. I don't know if I mentioned part of that video, if the bridge setup was made. I don't remember. It's been a while. You have to go back in my videos and check to see if I did one on that. But in a nutshell, how do I do it? It's pretty simple. Whenever you're doing the trem, obviously the standard intonation needs to be done once you're set up right. When you change your strings, always intonate your bridge. What I like to do is I like to put in a little shim behind the bridge when I'm working on it. So when you loosen up the strings, it doesn't go slack. And I like to give it like the thickness of about a quarter, maybe even a little bit less. So I slide a little quarter under there and keep it above the body just slightly. And then what I do is I'll try and tune up the guitar so that it's actually in tune. And then depending on how up or down the trem is, you adjust the claws. So you open up the back of your guitar and there's screws that hold the claw into the body of the guitar. You either tighten or loosen those to be able to make sure that your bridge has an even gap between the body and it's not like tilted upwards or downwards this way. So depending on the gauge of the strings, and make sure everything is in tune to the right pitch before you do this, you just adjust the string. So you loosen it if you want it to be more slack, you tighten it if you want it to be further up until it's perfectly level, and then you're in business. Does that make sense? It's not that difficult, guys. Lempu says, I can't even find a Kramer Franken Strat in my country. Import is very expensive. Yeah, ever since Eddie Van Halen passed away, all of the Van Halen type guitars and gear have been snagged up. So it's going to be harder and harder to find this stuff. Maz Electra says, also need to work on my room acoustics, all in the process. A little bit at a time, man. You just have to chip away. Do one little section at a time and you'll get there. Don't give up. Yeah, and Fat Philosopher's right. See if you can get a used made in Mexico Strat or Classic Vibe. Exactly. Cushman says the Katana has a 0.5 mode, very quiet. That is one of the advantages of the Katanas. I think they really designed those units to be specific to at-home use. That is really the market they were going for. Hey, William, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us, William. Bruce says, problem for me with multi-effects and modeling pedals is that I have to make different patches for each guitar, Strat, Telecaster, 335, PRS, etc. Really need their own patches to sound good. Yeah, I do agree. I think there was, I forget which one it was. There was maybe it was a Boss. I think Boss did this at one point. They actually designed their pedal board, and I think it was the GT series that I had, that they would ask you at the beginning what type of guitar you were using. So it was a single coil guitar or humbucker, and they would adjust the patches accordingly. And I thought that was great. And more companies making multi-effects should actually do that, to do like a pre-config, you know. Are the pickups hot? Are they single coil? Are they humbucking? You know, and just be able to dial in the initial tone of the guitar before anything else. Maybe we'll start seeing stuff like that. Maybe we'll even start seeing units that can actually detect what kind of guitars you're using and auto adjust the sound. That would be pretty cool. Alan says, just tried your links, they're not working. Odd, very odd. I don't know what to tell you, man. I don't want to go into that right now. Here, okay, let me just take a quick look. I don't know. 1 second.
This is the story of the
Let me see why they're not working here. Well, they're working on my end, guys. I think, are you looking at this video, the links underneath this video, or some other videos? Because it could be that because you're looking at some of the other videos, they might not be working properly. Here, let me see if I can. Here, I'm going to put it in the comment section, a little link. Maybe you guys can. Oh man, why can't I can't copy and paste. Anyways, guys, look, all you got to do, go into another video. Don't click on the links on this video. Just go into any other of my other videos and you can actually click on the links. I'm sure they will work. It's probably just because this video hasn't actually been uploaded live yet, that maybe that's why they're not working. How do you identify the best luthier in your area? We moved fairly recently, so I lost my last connection. Yeah, that's a great question. You know, I usually go by word of mouth. I usually try and get references from other people that have actually used luthiers. There's luthiers that are popping up all over the place, and you know they're just advertising on you know, on the web. I would not trust somebody that hasn't been in business for a long time. And I would not hand over my guitars to somebody that just put a link on the internet and does not have any background, or I don't know anybody that's actually used them before. It's quite iffy. The best thing I would say is actually learn how to set up your own guitars as much as you can, because that would actually save you a ton of money. And honestly, my experience with a lot of luthiers is that they do kind of the generic setup to they go by the industry standard, like for Fender or Gibsons. They kind of go by what they recommend, not necessarily by what you need. A good luthier would actually ask you what you need, what kind of playing style you have, how hard you hit the strings, what kind of strings and gauges that you want to have, what kind of action that you want to have. So oftentimes they'll get it set up so that there's no buzzing and everything is good, but it's not necessarily going to be to your liking. So if you can actually learn how to do it on your own, it's actually the best thing. And it's not that hard, guys. I work on all my guitars now. I don't feel I need to bring it to a luthier, except if there's something specific that needs to be handled in terms of like finishing the guitar or something like that I can't necessarily repair because I don't have the equipment or I don't have the ability to do it on my own. So that stuff I'll leave for the pros, just because it might take too much time. But other than that, I won't bother. Thanks, Cushman. Thanks for giving me your approval. Cushman says, great show, Tony. I like that. Thank you very much. So guys, we're going to be wrapping it up. It's 1:43. We're going to be, I've been going on 43 minutes too long. I said 1 hour. I always get carried away with these things, but I want to leave some food for thought for the next show. And Jeff says, I thought you might have used a pizza analogy there, Tony, but the sauce one works. It works for pizzas too. Richard says, tried the Blue Sky pedal this week. Good suggestion. Now I'm on the hunt for new tone. And that hunt never ends, Richard. If you try gear and you try pedals and you come across something really cool for great prices, let us know. Don't be selfish. You got to share. Jeff says the old Korg multi-effects units had the humbucker single cut switch on them as well. Yeah, I think that one had that option as well too. Seth says it ain't easy, LOL, floating properly. Depends, Seth. Depends. I have way more success with Strat style bridges than I would have with the Floyds. The Floyds are really a pain, especially if you have to try to intonate them. You need a special tool to be able to do that properly, and it really takes a lot longer because you have the strings stretch, and then you have to. It's a whole balancing thing, and that's why I kind of don't use Floyds anymore. Ever since I got the Vega Trem, it really makes me super happy. It gives me all of the flexibility that a Floyd gave me without necessarily the issues of having locking strings. I can still do alternate tunings and stuff like that for different songs. You can't really do that very easily with a Floyd. Thanks, Rico. Thank you very much. Bruce says, Tony, better get some coffee. It's 11:43. Definitely, man. Thank you for picking up the Addicted to Gear mug. I really do appreciate that, Maz. All right, guys, that's it for today. 1:45. Thank you once again for joining me for another great live show. I really do appreciate it. Please spread the word if you can. We're getting really close to hitting the 20,000 subscriber mark, and if any of you that are new here today are not already subscribed, please subscribe. Help us get over that 20,000 subscriber hump. I think it's going to be something to celebrate, and I really appreciate you guys tuning in very diligently every weekend. So guys, remember, next Sunday will not be a live show happening. We alternate, so the next live show will only happen in 2 weeks from now. In the meantime, stay tuned on the channel for the videos that I was talking about today. There'll be more videos being posted on some gear, and keep those questions and comments coming in, guys. I really do appreciate them, and I appreciate your feedback on the videos. Have a great rest of the week, you guys. Stay safe, and don't forget to keep us abreast of all the gear and pedals and amps that you acquire over the next week or two for the next show. Looking forward to that one. All right, guys, take it easy. See you soon.